Hello and welcome to Homemade. I'm Chef Krista. Tonight we are making a recipe with our friends at Savor. Tonight's recipe is a Basque cheesecake with, to top it off, to gild the lily, a cranberry caramel sauce. It's going to be amazing. I cannot wait to make this and talk all about this amazing recipe, its history. This is a recipe for the holidays, and I'm excited to talk about it with you. I am also joined by the lovely Chef Meg. She is our behind the scenes. She's the Wizard of Oz, behind the scenes, behind the curtain.
Did someone say cheesecake?
So put any questions that you have about any part of the process that we're doing here tonight, put those questions in the chat and Meg will answer them or throw it out to me so that we can talk about it. If you have that question, probably somebody else does too. So feel free to chat with us. This particular class tonight is part of the Savor series that we are working with. And it's the last one for this year. This series explores food from around the world. It's really fascinating, wonderful. You can find lots of inspiration at savorrecipes.com. Easy, delicious recipe inspiration. Even those of us who cook all the time, we need to go looking for inspiration sometimes. Today's recipe is from Spain. It is a Basque cheesecake, so the Basque region of Spain is very particular, very sort of nuanced culture there. It's just an amazing place. It is the food, sort of a food destination of the world right now. And the reason that I'm so excited about this recipe is because I feel like cheesecake is something everybody loves, but people get intimidated by an American cheesecake, lots of steps, a crust, a water bath, and this just does away with all of that. So if you have hesitated to make a cheesecake because it feels like a lot of steps, this is the cheesecake for you. So first things first, we're gonna prepare our pan. Like I said, this recipe has no crust. So we're gonna take this big pan, and it kind of makes its own crust with the temperature that we bake it at. So we're gonna prepare this pan really thoroughly because we're putting in here just that mixture of cream and eggs and sugar. So the first thing I'm doing is brushing the insides of this pan with a little bit of melted butter. This is kind of like insurance level 1. You also wanna preheat your oven to 375. That's the temperature we're looking for. And then this next part, 2 sheets of parchment. So you gotta have some parchment paper and aluminum foil. So this is our next layer of insurance. And we're gonna put that in, and don't worry about it being too crinkly. That's actually part of the sort of signature part of this dish. So we're making sure some of this sticks up over the top, but not necessarily perfect. And then 2 layers of the parchment. Again, don't worry if you have some crinkly parts. That is part of the appeal. One other little trick to getting your paper to get into all the places you want it to get into is go ahead and crumple it up. And we're putting our second layer down as crumply as you want, really. And that's what's going to give those edges some character. So what makes this distinctive too is that it's gonna have sort of a burnished top, and the edges as they bake, because this bakes for a long time, in the oven without a water bath. So that's ready to go. We'll pour this mixture into here, and you'll see these crinkly bits is not a problem. No worries at all. You'll want to put this onto a cookie sheet just to catch. I mean, I know I have like 3 layers of insurance on here, just in case. I would rather have a cookie sheet to clean up than an oven. So put that on a cookie sheet. First things first, this is a recipe that is going to require only a little bit of forethought, right? But some forethought. You need to have your ingredients at room temperature. So we're going to take 2 pounds of cream cheese. I know it's a lot. Just go for it. Celebrate. So 2 pounds of cream cheese are gonna go into your mixer, and they really, really need to be at room temperature. So if you did not bring these to room temperature, you can try to like bring them to the warmer spot in your house. Don't microwave it or anything weird like that. But some cream cheese and a cup and a half of sugar. And this is gonna go in together. I'm gonna give this a little bit of a head start. And then we'll start adding the rest of the ingredients. Give that a whirl. Okay. Then I'm gonna add a cup and a half of sugar. Okay, so a cup and a half of sugar. If it looks like things are not starting to incorporate, the key here is that we really want all that sugar to dissolve, and we want really good incorporation here. So feel free to scrape down the bowl and know that you're going to be beating this for about 2 minutes. And one of the reasons that I love this recipe, I love foods with a backstory, and this one is great. So this cake was developed in the Basque region in this little town called San Sebastian in the Basque region of Spain, and it was actually developed in a bar. The whole of Spain was just coming out from under dictatorship and oppression, and they were finding their footing, right? They were trying to attract people to come there, and this was developed in this family restaurant, this bar, the Everyman Bar. They serve pinchos, they serve hot coffee, a snack, and the owner's son wanted to develop a recipe that was sweet. And so he was playing with it, and he was playing with it, and when he landed on this recipe for this Basque cheesecake, and he placed those cakes next to the coffee machines, people started buying them. They looked so appealing, they looked so different. You'll see at the end when I serve it, they had a special way of cutting it so that it was, very unique. So I'm gonna just give this a pause, scrape it down before we start adding in the rest of our ingredients and get it into the oven. So the next thing to add in is a little bit of orange zest. This is a kind of a traditional flavor in Spain. I love adding zest to anything. You wanna make sure when you're zesting that you just keep turning your fruit, your citrus, because you don't want to get down to that white pith. The next thing we're going to add is eggs, also at room temperature. And I really like to do eggs one at a time, just so that I'm preventing the possibility of any shell going in there. I'm gonna break it up a little bit before I throw it in there, because these are gonna go in one at a time. I feel like cheesecake, American cheesecake, is like an all-day Saturday project, and everything comes to temperature, and then you have to bake it and chill it, and it's a water bath and all that. And this is more like a Saturday afternoon project that you think about and you realize it, and you get all the ingredients out in the morning and everything comes to temperature, and you bake it in the afternoon and eat it that night for dinner. That was our last egg. Hooray. Then our last couple of ingredients here, if you can see that nice velvety texture here, we really want to make sure that everything is incorporated. We have a couple more ingredients to add in, but not many. 2 cups of heavy cream. So we're gonna put this to beat again for a little bit as we add in 2 cups of heavy cream. And again, you're not going very fast. You're just like low to medium low as you incorporate all that cream. Oh my goodness. And then a teaspoon of vanilla. You definitely could use vanilla paste in this. I made a whipped cream this morning with vanilla paste, vanilla bean paste, and it was just a little extra. It was so good. All right, that smells amazing. And then the last bit before we pour this into our pan and put it in the oven is to take a little bit of flour, a 1/4 cup of flour, and we're just gonna sift that over the top. Again, we're sifting because we don't want lumps. We're sifting that over the top. A 1/4 cup, this is gonna help hold it together, sort of form more consistency. This is giving us a little bit of consistency. So we're taking it away from just like a cheese custard. This is gonna make it the cake part. Lovely, beautiful. Okay, so just maybe like 15 seconds more. It's really full now, so don't kick it on too fast. That's lovely. And just give it one more mix. And then it's gonna go into the pan. Here we go.
Chef Krista.
Yes.
Because, you know, this isn't like a sponge cake or anything like that, like the flour is, we're using just a small amount of flour. Is it gonna make a difference if you use a gluten-free flour alternative?
It's such a small amount, a 1/4 cup, and its job, if you are using gluten 1-to-1 replacement, is its job is to have a little bit of starch. So make sure that your 1-to-1 mix has a little bit of starch in it, or a xanthan gum. Ooh, look at that! So now you see what I mean about the edges just kind of being rustic, filling in the sides there. Okay. Hopefully that was enough to show you how easy it was. Just a lot of mixing. Alrighty, say goodbye to that beautiful cream color because we are going for really a burnished color. So that's what we're going for. This is gonna bake for 60 minutes. So we're gonna do some TV magic here, but I am gonna bake this one in the center. Oh, okay. And while that's baking, we're going to make a caramel. So caramel is another one of those things that maybe feels daunting, but I want to assure you it is not. It's a piece of cake, and once you've made one, you can make many, many, many. The caramel is simply, we are caramelizing sugar. That is the first step. That's the best step. So we have a cup of sugar. We're putting it into a nice heavy pot. And we are going to give ourselves a little bit of a boost, a little bit of protection by putting just a squeeze of lemon in here. That's going to help prevent crystallization. So just squeeze enough. So a lot of times people will say, oh, I'm afraid because it always gets chunky. But what we're doing is preventing that with just the squeeze of a lemon over the top of it. And then the other ingredients to this recipe are some more vanilla, some more cream, butter, and then this one we are taking in the direction of cranberry. So when you're making a caramel sauce, just basic caramel is usually just sugar and cream and butter and maybe vanilla, but you can take it in any direction you want. You can see the sugar is starting to melt here. I'm not moving it around too much because I don't want it to get up the sides. So I just want to let it melt with our little bit of our squeeze of lemon in there. We're using a wooden spoon. I wanted to get into the corners to move it around, and you can see that it's liquefying right now. It's not quite dissolved, but it's getting there. Okay, if you can see this, I don't know if you can see this, but now we're getting to the caramel color that we're looking for, and I'm gonna let it go just a smidgy longer. It's looking beautiful. I think the other part about making caramel is watching the bubbles. So the bubbles will change in size from a kind of a small to a larger and larger bubble. That's the color we want. And then some recipes would have you add the cream now, but we are going to, just as a little bit of a safety, fail-proof, we're gonna add butter, and that's just gonna melt ever so nicely. It bubbles up a little bit, but when you add cream first, it bubbles like furiously. That's where, you want to add cream and stand back. So we're adding in about 6 tablespoons of butter. This fat in the butter is helping it to not seize. Again, this is another part of the recipe that you want all of the ingredients at room temperature. Oh my gosh. So that is so beautiful. Our cream, let's see if it's still hot enough to bubble. Nope. Nothing terribly explosive. We cooled it down enough. I'm off the heat now, even though I'm still at the stovetop, I'm off the heat. And here is our beautiful cranberry sauce, 100% cranberry sauce. So this is gonna bring the tart to all that sweetness. You wanna do this very slowly too. Oh, it's so pretty, this color.
Or cranberry juice.
Yeah, sorry, cranberry juice.
Yeah.
I did not spend my prep time mashing cranberries here. This is cranberry juice. And it is turning almost like a burgundy wine color. It's going to thicken as it cools. You saw that change in the sort of liquidness of it. And then a splash of vanilla. Okay. Be really careful with this last part because hot sugar is very, very, you can really easily burn yourself. So we're going to want it to cool, and we're going to put it into this other little bowl for a minute to cool off. Beautiful.
Question about using honey instead of sugar. Is that possible?
So you can use partly honey, but sugar has been crystallized to a really high temperature, and usually honey does not crystallize until it's had a ton of water evaporated from it, or it's a little bit older, or it's been beaten. Sometimes you see creamed honey that's been beaten, but I would not do like a full swap of sugar to honey because it's not going to cook down the way that we want the sugar to cook down. All right, so because we make magic here at Homemade, and we are not an hour-long program, our Basque cheesecake is gonna stay cooking in the 400-degree oven, and we're gonna pull out, like magic, the next cheesecake, one that was already made for us earlier. So if you can see, it is quite brown, burnished, and I'm gonna very carefully unmold it from our springform pan so that you can see those distinct edges that I was talking about earlier. So we'll sort of peel by layers, and this has been room temperature for a while, so this is what makes this so distinctive and delicious. These rustic edges are what is going to make our cheesecake distinctly a Basque cheesecake. This is like a restaurant trick, if you've ever seen this at home. So you want to warm your knife up, nice and toasty hot. That's just going to help you slice through these creamy, cheesy layers even better. So that burnished top, we're going to slice through, and I'm going to make very thin slices because that was another part of the history of this cake, is that they served 2 very thin slices, and the chef said when you have something small to take a bite of, you savor it more, which I just loved. I think I have a little bit of a chef crush on this chef, so you'll have to forgive me. And that's how he would serve it in the bar, and you would drink your coffee. I did not add any salt to our caramel, so I'll add a little now, just for you, Meg. And then we're going to, so this will thicken as it cools, but because we are impatient for our desserts here, we're gonna go ahead and drizzle this caramel sauce right on top of our cheesecake. Oh, it smells amazing. Caramelly deliciousness.
Someone was saying that it's a lot more burnished than they expected it to be.
Yeah.
Can you talk about just like the flavor of that and
Sure.
and how it actually works?
Yeah. So I will say that this, we were just talking about this earlier here, that this might be the maximum end of burnished that we would go for. And reading about Chef Santiago Rivera, he also would say that he would call it like a golden and not quite as dark as this. But what we're going for here and what we're sort of appreciating about the Basque cheesecake is that it is a contrast. It's just so many contrasts in your mouth. This top, it gets a little bit of an intensified flavor of the baked cheese, the baked cream. Those flavors get intensified at the top. So this was really about highlighting the contrast in flavor. So we have this really creamy part and then this little bit of a kind of just a bolder flavor. The other part is because we're cooking it in such a high temperature oven, you are forming sort of its own crust. Like this outer edge is going to be more baked than the interior, and you're going to have more of a souffle texture on the inside and more about an inch in from the rim, it will be a little bit more like cakey, right? So this has a lot of different textures and flavors from just those 5 ingredients in the different parts of the cake. So I'm going to take a bite of this, let you know.
We got to get you a cup of dry cider.
Yes, that's another popular thing to serve this with. So friends, this is just out of this world, different flavor than an American cheesecake. It is like creme brulee and souffle. It's just so very light in the interior, and then this, the top is where there's sort of like a crackly crust, and the caramel sauce is very tart, but also very sweet. Wow, so much going on in your mouth with this lovely number. So that is the Basque cheesecake. I'm so happy you joined us for this. I really hope you'll give this a try. It is a delightful, different dessert. Totally different from our traditional cheesecake, and I think, dare I say it, better. So I am on the bandwagon. I love this Basque cheesecake. Thank you for spending your time watching with us. Thank you to Savor, our friends at Savor. Please check out more recipes with them at savorrecipes.com. And if you want to join us for another delicious recipe holiday meal, on Tuesday, December 10th, we are doing a rosemary rack of lamb. I would not miss that one. So another recipe that you can realize just how easy something that delicious can be when it's made at home. Thank you for joining us. I hope your kitchen is your happy place. We'll see you again soon.